Good evening and welcome to Plain Talk. My name is Christopher Ram. Thank you for joining me for the next hour as we wrap up 2018. As I hint there, this is the final program for the year 2018. And my guest, who has probably appeared on more Plain Talks than anyone during this year, is Mr. Ramon Gaskin. We will be discussing issues that stand out from 2018, whether positive or negative. Hopefully we'll have a good balance. And so I'll start by asking and welcoming you, Ramon, but to ask you,
Thank you.
what is it that most excited you about Guyana in 2018? Positive or negative?
Well, for me, in the economy, where I look first, the big news for me has been the destruction of the sugar industry. And
Let me interrupt you right away. You're one who called for the for lots of the closures, didn't you?
No, I said it should be done one at a time, gradually.
One at a time.
But I do believe, and I still believe, that in Berbice there was opportunity to break even up there because of the potential sale of energy to the grid. But Wales and IFLOC and so those estates couldn't make it. But the way it was done, to throw thousands of people on the breadline in an unplanned manner and not even pay them the money, that's the big problem. Not closing the place. It's how they go about doing it. And now, for months and then you can't get your severance pay, which is a requirement of the law. I think that thing bothered me a lot. I think the repercussions of that are still being felt. I think there's about 10,000 people have been dislocated, permanent and casual staff on the estates, and also communities, entire communities that depend on the estates at Wales and Rose Hall and so on.
Rose Hall Kanji is particularly bad. There are so few alternatives
and
opportunities.
I'm getting some bad reports about the sharp rise in prostitution in those areas, and very distressing, very disturbing reports.
But Raymond, where is the government?
This government is not doing anything. They don't consider it their people because of the vulgar theory. They're not PNC people. It's not we people. We're not interested in them.
Don't blame Volvo. What about
the government? No, from Grange and all that.
What about Ramjatan equating the sugar workers' plight with Volvo Lawrence's statement?
And then you have I think this is contempt for these people, for these workers who've worked hard and built this industry, I would say, since 1838.
But surely Ramjatan, who built his reputation on the backs of sugar workers, to take such a cynical and disgusting view of sugar workers, the man has absolutely no shame.
No shame at all. He and Nagamoto and the whole gang of them. But also from the president down, I expected better of President Granger, and he disappointed me once again on the question of sugar. And not even the sugar worker, not even wanted to pay the people the money that is due to them, which is a requirement of the law, and fooling around with them all the time, and the matter is still not resolved.
What about this mess with special
the SPU? Then the minister is saying, we got guys to go off our backs. We don't have to pay them the $1 billion a month any longer. You don't have to pay them $1 billion, but you owe $30 billion for the SPU on the bond issue at 4.75%. So you're paying $1 billion, but you got to pay back $30 billion. And this $30 billion that they borrowed, up to now, nobody knows what this thing is for, this $30 billion. Nobody knows up to now.
Have they really borrowed $30 billion, or is it less? Is 30
the gross, the max, less the fees? I think it's about $800 million have been paid or have been received by a lot of people, political and otherwise, who've been involved in raising that money. A lot of people are getting rich on that thing.
Raymond,
$30 billion is a lot of money in this country.
Raymond, you've lived in Canada, you've studied in Russia, you've seen, you're a management consultant yourself. the chaotic manner in which the sugar industry is being dealt with now. Is that in conformity with how a proper, sensible managerial approach?
The people here who are in charge of that have no education, training, and experience in management or finance or in nothing. They don't have the requirements to handle a problem like that. They don't have it. They're not experienced, they're not trained, they're not qualified, and in many cases they don't have the integrity and the quality to deal with those problems. And that is why the whole place is a total mess when you come to think of it. But not only sugar, you know, this whole economy is in a mess because of the same problem.
I don't want you to go off sugar because
but still sugar
what I would like you to do is say what you think. Now that we've got ourselves in this absolute mess, is it salvageable at all? Or is it now too late?
Well, I did believe, and I still believe, that the sugar industry could break even if it's confined to Berbice. And if it could raise additional revenues other than producing raw sugar for export by selling power to the grid, because they had the Wartsila units there and all of that. And in Berbice there was an opportunity for them to break even. The price of sugar had been cut by 36%, as we know. But Wales couldn't make it. Wales couldn't make it at all. And IFLOC still can't make it. But Berbice could have still made it. But the way they went about, you close Wales and keep IFLOC, and you close this and keep this one, it makes no sense. Those people who were in charge of those affairs.
Who you think made those decisions?
Well, you had the Parvatan report with Clive Thomas and Parvatan.
That said no closure.
No closure in the immediate.
Yes.
But privatization they talk about, and they didn't do it. I would say one at a time, gradually. They should have done it one at a time, gradually, and taking care of the workers and alternative employment and what to do with the land and privatization and that. They didn't do that, and I think it's the people who made the big decisions. I guess would be the cabinet and Jordan and I guess Harmon and all of them, the senior people in the cabinet, and they just decided to just close it down.
Clive Thomas, the sugar economist, headed the board for close to 3 years.
Yes, and he was a total disaster, a total failure as a manager. And I think he's destroyed his reputation as an economist, which I think indeed he was, and he still is an accomplished economist. But put him to manage a big company like that, he failed miserably.
All right, let's go.
And then you have these people, but they still haven't dealt with these people up to now. And there are no plans to deal with them in the new year. It's not in the budget. How to get alternative employment for these people?
But they haven't even mentioned. Minister Jordan did not mention it
because the ruling party here is contemptuous of these people because of the general notion that they're not our people, they're not our supporters, they're not our friends.
I come back to this.
I think
you have Nagamutu, you have Ramjatan,
you have Nagamutu,
you have Jaipal Sharma,
yes.
You have Amna Ali, you have
yes.
Boltan.
You have the Volta theory. It's not our people. We don't have to deal with them. We look after our people. And I think the Volta theory, the Volta position is in the ascendancy. And Ramjatan and Kamraj and Moses, they have no say in those matters.
Anything else? What else excited you?
Well, the decision of two of the banks to close down or to sell out and get rid of Guyana and leave Guyana, that came as a big surprise because many people believe that Guyana is on the verge of big things to come with oil.
Is it not true though, Ramon, that this was an international move? It wasn't targeted at Guyana.
It wasn't targeted at Guyana.
And we're talking about Baroda and Scotia.
It wasn't targeted at Guyana. But if the people in the head office who were looking at it, they ought to have said to themselves that now that we're established in Guyana and Guyana is on the verge of big things, we should stay there. Even if we want to come out of St. Vincent and Grenada and Antigua and those kind of Mickey Mouse places, they could have said...
Those are independent states, yeah?
Independent states. They're not viable states, though. They could have said that Guyana is on the verge of big things and we should stay there. But even though they said, no, Guyana isn't even worth it to stay.
So, okay.
And now. And then this government doesn't know what to do. What to do in the face of this decision by
well, both the finance minister and the governor of the Bank of Guyana have spoken on the matter.
But what have they said? What have they said substantially? What is to happen? Is the sale going to go through? Is Baroda is accepting bids up to the 27th of December in head office in India for the Baroda in Guyana? So we just sit back and wait on the 27th of December and see what Baroda at Manvi, I think is the headquarters, what they decide. And is that what they do? You just wait and see what these big people are going to do. There's a dereliction of duty. The banking sector in this country is an important, and the governor is charged in the law to maintain the stability of the banking sector in this country and the stabilization of the currency and everything else. And he should be more proactive in dealing with this, I call it a crisis in this thing, which has a strong potential to destabilize the whole system. If I'm a customer of Scotia Baroda and I hear, for example, you pulling out, I might want to go and take out whatever little savings I have there. You could have a run in the bank. It could happen. I'm not saying it's happening, but you could have that. And if I owe Baroda and Scotia a lot of money and I hear they want to leave, I might want to stop paying my loans for the time being to see how that shapes up. So you could have all these problems coming into the banking sector, and the governor has to be more proactive here to deal with the potential negative consequences of the decision of these two banks to pull out of Guyana. And I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing he's doing it, and I'm not seeing the Minister of Finance is doing it, and I don't think they know what to do.
Do you think their pulling out poses a serious threat to competition in the banking sector, in the financial sector in Guyana?
If at the end of the day we end up with just 3 banks or 4, but if we end up still with the 6 or 7 banks, we can maintain competition if we don't have too much concentration in one of the big banks. So my own viewpoint on this whole thing is that I think the Guyanese businessmen should step up to the plate and take these 2 banks. The Guyanese businessmen should take these 2 banks. And even the government should look into the question of taking one of these banks and making it into a development bank. We used to have one years ago, the Guy Bank, as you know. I used to be chairman at one time.
The very focus of a development bank from a commercial bank, which these 2 are, would be very different.
No, but there's none to prevent the government of getting back into the banking sector. You could do commercial work,
Raymond,
and you could still do developmental work.
I think you were chairman of...
I was chairman of the Guy Bank.
Now, you know how a former administration, the former administrations made a complete mess.
Well, I would not support the government getting back into banking unless you have professional management. And so I have to tell you what is the caveat there. No government, especially in Guyana.
Which country you live in?
I live in Guyana.
And you think that's going to happen?
Unless it happens,
it's not going to happen.
It ought not to happen. Unless the government, if it's interested to get back into banking, can get professional management.
Look, even the natural resource fund, the oil money, we want our government to be involved in it.
Yeah,
the Minister of Finance got to name this person, that person, this committee, that committee.
Minister want to run banking. Minister always, it's not only this minister and the previous minister. When I was the chairman of the bank and we sued a man, I remember, party comrade for money owing. The minister himself called me Asghar Ali, and said, withdraw that writ. I said, no, we can't withdraw the writ. We're suing everybody that owed the bank. He said, but the man is my comrade. I said, yeah, this is my comrade too. But I'm not operating on that basis.
Banking doesn't.
And this is the minister calling me. Luckily, I told the minister.
So you're saying one of these 2 commercial banks should be acquired by the state to operate as a development bank? Have you thought this through?
Yes. if you can get professional management.
But how do
And
you
if you-
convert a commercial bank into a
No,
development
because
bank?
you can do commercial banking, of course, and you can also assist people in agriculture and industry and other things. You can do plenty of things in the bank. You already have them established. You have branch networks. A lot of things can be
So
done.
we're going to take
But-
customers' money and put it in high risk
But
development
But
banking?
right now,
Nah,
they
nah.
they
I don't
borrow
agree with you
got
at
the
all.
customers' money, and where they putting it? Where borrow they
Well,
putting it?
they put it in a safe haven. They're not taking risks.
Well, Baroda's been here for 50 years, 50, 60 years. I remember once I went to do an audit there with Victor Cheat Gangadin. That was many years ago, 40, 50 years ago. They have not been very, shall we say, progressive bankers over the years.
Yeah,
but a lot could be done.
But
A
remember,
lot could be done.
I do worry about your suggestion that we should make this into some development bank.
No,
Not
it
this
can be
situation.
done. So if you have professional management,
That's not going to happen.
well, if it's not going to happen, it cannot be done. It
Okay.
ought not to be done.
Good.
It can only be done if you have professional management. And where ministers don't call the manager and try to harass him and tell him what to do and what not to do. The way the ministers try to call me.
Ministers getting involved
And everything.
who should
of course,
get
I
what?
must tell you, after the minister called me that time, he never called again.
Yeah.
And I told him not to call me again.
We got to deal with
Yeah.
the present. We have to deal with the
We're
present.
going to have the same problem when minister want to run bank and want to run things. If you could get professional management, I would say, what you can do with these two banks? Close them down, and what's going to happen to the people with the savings and the loans and
Well,
all? We have to look at all that.
remember, in the case of one,
Mhm.
there's already
Already some
a regional
arrangement.
arrangement
Yes.
for an acquisition.
Yes. I don't think that should be allowed to go through. And I still think the governor...
Why is that?
Because of concentration. Because of concentration and diminution of competition for that reason. That would be my opinion on
Do
the
you
matter.
think there is concentration, there is competition now in the banking sector?
That's a very good question. I don't think there's a lot of competition.
Exactly.
There's a lot of competition because they operate like a cartel, the six of them. They operate like a cartel. They give you 1% in the saving and they charge you from 12 up to 18 on the loans. And they all do the same thing. So you need new people to get into the system there and shake up the whole thing. I don't see why the Guyanese businessmen can't step forward and take over one of the banks or both of them. But it shows the head office people don't have a lot of confidence here, you know, that although Guyana is on the verge of all, that this country is going to do well. They don't have much confidence in this place at all, from what I can see.
Well, you've identified. We're talking about things that have excited you during this year.
Sugar,
You started with sugar. You
Yeah.
now banking.
Sugar,
What else?
because it is the layoff. The layoff problem.
I'm not going back.
We're going to gold. We're going to gold now. Gold has always been, you know, we've been doing some 50,000 ounces a year. And the target for this year is 50,000. We're only getting 480. We're only getting 480,000 this year.
But hold on, you're painting this bleak picture.
It is
and
bleak.
The Minister of Finance said we're going to grow by what?
No, forget about
Traditional
what you say.
sector gonna grow by 5% this year?
What percentage? How much ounces a
In
gold?
this year or 2019?
19. How much ounces a gold? The target is some 50,000 ounces. We're at 475 last week. That is the number. Forget about some percentage number growth. That is the number. How many ounces declared? And this is not production is in decline. Production is not doing too badly. It's the declarations. The people who are producing the gold, leave out the foreign people, the Canadian and the Australian, who ship the gold out to Canada and Australia. The local big producers, they're not declaring the gold. It is not that they're not producing it. And there's some smuggling going on. There's always been smuggling. But what has happened recently, the new phenomenon, is the refusal to declare. The refusal to declare.
What do you think is driving that?
That's a good question. That's the refusal to declare. It has to do essentially with when you declare, you have to pay royalty.
Mhm.
You know, so you don't. If you don't declare to the government, you could declare some other play where you play to the government. You can declare it under the table. There are 12 companies now I think, licensed to buy and trade in gold and export gold, so you can go and do your deal with them. And it never gets reported in the thing. Secondly, they don't want to pay the royalty, and they don't want the tax man. They don't want the tax man to know that they made 50,000 ounces, 60,000 ounces for the year. 60,000 ounces is a lot of money. They don't want the tax man to know, so you don't go to the gold board, you go to somebody else. It doesn't get reported as a declaration. Declarations are done to force them to know, which is 2/3 of what it was last year. 2/3 of what it is last year. We have the smuggling continues all the time at a rate about, well, the people calculate the 10,000 ounces a week is being smuggled altogether. But the big problem now, the way I see it anyhow, from the numbers I've been looking at, is the refusal and the failure to declare to the official people. So that is why the numbers are so low.
What has changed between the previous year and this year that has caused this reluctance? Or refusal, not only reluctance, refusal to declare.
Well, I think a lot of the businessmen now, I know one of the big people who don't declare at all, who make a lot of gold. They don't declare any of it. They rather put it in a safety deposit box for the time being. It has a lot to do with waiting and seeing how things will shape up in 2020, maybe coming up next year, and they're just waiting to see. Some are smuggling it, some put it in the safety deposit box, you declare some of it, and the net result is that declarations this year are done by about 33% from the 750. They're not going to meet the target at all. So that goal is a big problem.
The remaining fortnight left in this year, clearly.
Yeah, well, you don't have nothing.
Can't make up for it.
No, you don't make up for it. Rice is struggling. The price is not right. I was talking to a rice farmer this week. He has 600 acres. He's coming out of it. He said he can't make money. The millers are squeezing him all the time. The international price that they're getting, since we lost the Venezuelan market, is low, so they're squeezing him, and he's coming out of it. And this year, I think we've seen in the public service pay the imposition of pay increases. The same thing that DJ complained about when the previous administration used to do it, they end up doing the same thing.
Well, Finance Minister Jordan even ran ahead of himself by already saying that there are going to be increases next year and the following year and the following year. Now, he has no authority for saying that.
No, well, they promised collective bargaining. They promised to return to collective bargaining. I think Ramjitan and Nagamoto, they were the main protagonists of this thing. The previous people had not done it, and they're going to do it. And it never happened. It didn't happen. You have the imposition. You have still problems with the payroll and the workers at the University of Guyana, I understand, and a couple of other places. So they haven't been able to deal with that thing. The teachers went on strike. Eventually they got something, not much to write home about. But the collective bargaining has come to an end in the public service, as far as I can tell. And I was reading this week, there's an article there by Gul Saran about the contract workers. There's a greater reliance on contract workers now in the public service, what is called the public service. And the trade unionism as a general rule is on the decline in the public service and in the private sector too, in the decline.
Well,
that's what you got. That's what you got. While all this is going on, of course, the big news is oil. We're discovering oil every day. Oil is the big news. Forestry oil is 2020, we're told.
No, I want to stay
on the economy. We're in the economy still.
What about forestry?
Well, forestry, we're not hearing any. I am not hearing anything about forestry. All I know is that the concessions have been taken from Barama. They've been reallocated. The Ramon people, the big Chinese company, they've received a big chunk of it, and some other local people have got it. But I'm not hearing anything, any big news about forestry. The big news, of course, is that a big delegation from the Guyana Forestry Commission just came back from the United Kingdom where they went to discuss Green Heart sales. I don't know what happened to that. We're not hearing anything but forestry, and what is that?
Wasn't Minister Trotman part of that
Oh,
delegation?
yeah.
And then had to rush back
Yeah.
because of some vote in the National
Yeah, he-
First of all, one asks, what is he going there for? I mean, he's not a technocrat. He's not a technician.
Well, my friend who's the chairman of the board, she went too. I don't know who the technical people that went to deal with this question of Green Heart certification, and I'm not hearing any serious report on if they've been able to resolve the question of export of Green Heart and all of that. This government is quite secretive, A lot of things they don't tell you about, really. You don't get to know basic things.
They've practically abolished the Office of the Commissioner of Information.
Yes, I noticed that.
And look the manner in which they've done it.
Yes, they just no budget allocation. Yes,
but can they do that? Isn't it?
No, I don't think they can do that because it's a position set out by the National Assembly. By Parliament, there's a law. So you got to have this man, and you have to pay him. You have to have this office, employ people, and you have to pay him. That's what the Parliament said. So they're doing the whole thing. And of course, we know that for the whole of 2018, we see the Soku and the Sara, and all these processions of people up to Soku, up to the Soku, which I think is the Poku, and then you have Sarah, headed by Clive Thomas, doing absolutely nothing. I think you said last week that Sarah should be closed down altogether.
Sarah should be scrapped.
Well, I support that, but while I'm scrapping
you
Sarah...
have 46 people there doing practically nothing.
But a lot of WPA comrades, Clive Thomas took inside there. But while they're scrapping the Sarah, I think they should scrap the Soku too.
And let the police do the work.
And let the police do the work. Let the criminal investigation department set up to investigate crime. Let them look after crime. Because I don't see Soku. Soku's not winning any cases. They're not doing anything.
No, we've seen recently in the newspapers, after all the criticisms made about Sarah, that the director of Sarah, Clive Thomas, appears in a newspaper article and says, "Oh, we're recovering money on
recovered what?
On Pradoville too."
No, he's not. He didn't do recovery. He had a report in the papers that he's recovering some gold that went to Brazil. That's what he's into. He's into bigger nonsense. The Pradoville thing had come up long before, when there was the Pradoville people were in the procession to Soku, and started with Robert Posada that indicated an interest in paying the market, what they call the market rate for the thing. It had nothing to do with Sarah.
But they're getting the credit.
They want to take the credit. And we don't know what's going to play out there. One of the people facing charges on that Pradoville thing, so we'll have to see how that will play out. So it appears as if some of those people want to pay what they call the market rate. We don't know what's the market rate for that thing. A lot of money has been spent to develop that area. We'll have to see how that plays out. In the meanwhile, I think for this year, if you watch the media, and you track the media every day, I track it too. This whole question of borrowing and spending, and the minister is going to the Islamic Bank and the Chinese and the IDB and the CDB and the World Bank, and wherever you can borrow, they're there all the time trying to borrow. And we have this external debt going up, the domestic debt is going up all the time. When you borrow money, you got to pay it back. You got to pay it back with interest. And so that's what we got here. That's what we got. The budget came out. Your firm had a big analysis of it. $50 billion deficit on the budget, and the borrowing to cover it.
But
that's what we got.
What is frightening is the oil revenue is going to be gobbled up.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because the real spending spree hasn't started
yet. Yes.
This is going to be child's play.
Yes.
As to what's going to happen.
Well, I was looking into that. Assuming the Forestry comes in 2020, assuming, and I think you had written a piece on it in the media there. The Forestry, assuming it comes at 100,000 per day, you're talking about between 50 to 60 billion. But that's the current deficit. That only covers the current deficit on the budget. So you ain't getting no money there for developmental work.
Yeah.
if the oil money could barely cover the deficit and the budget, there's nothing there left.
Except that those are in the first couple of years only. No, there will be a
More
significant
money come in.
Yes.
Later.
No.
And there'll be more spending too, you know.
Of course.
Yes.
But
yes.
you know, recently, Holloway, the U.S. ambassador,
Yeah, that left.
who has left,
Yeah.
he said that the money from oil going to meet our all infrastructural expenditure within.
Well, Holloway,
I mean,
Holloway might be a good diplomat, but I don't think he knows a lot of mathematics.
He
and
does know
numbers.
basic arithmetic.
He does know
He
arithmetic,
does not
yeah.
know the
He's
contract.
not the only one.
Holloway
Yeah.
has not taken any account.
That's correct.
Now, it's usually said Americans don't know English,
Yeah.
but apparently they don't know maths either.
He don't know arithmetic.
Because the first couple years, I would say in 2020, all we're going to get is 14.25%.
Yeah, yeah,
because you
yes.
have all this pre-contract
Yeah, yeah.
and this pre-production
That's
cost.
correct. And you wouldn't get
That's
anything
going to
available
happen
for
in
nothing.
2020. It's going to happen in 2021
Yeah.
and possibly in 2022.
Oh, but if the thing goes from say 60 to 70 or 80, depending on the basic price of 50 to 60 to 70 on the per barrel, could you imagine how the spending will take place here? The kind of spending will take place because you're up to 300 billion and you ain't start with all yet, and you're spending money like if it's going out of style.
But
You got a payroll of 6 billion a month, and the concessions and the concessions you're given and the exemptions and all of that. This is the craziness that goes on in this country in the name of financial management.
And this government had said they're going to stop that. That they're
They
going to
can't do
They're
it.
going to go for credits.
They don't have the
But
competence.
Ramon, you mentioned oil.
They don't have the
You
competence
mentioned
to
oil.
run nothing properly, to manage money.
You would have seen the newspaper report
Yeah.
about Hess
Mm.
talking how Guyana is a blessing to them.
Yes, yes.
Now, I mean, that is so condescending.
Well, the
It's
guy.
a blessing to the American shareholders.
Yeah, well, the guy is
Is
speaking
it-
the truth.
is-
Why would I complain if he's speaking the truth? It
Because
probably
every time you talk about how good it is
Mm.
for their shareholders, you're saying how bad it is for us.
Yeah, but what I want.
This is not a win-win deal.
But what I want has to tell me, which he doesn't want to tell me, he and Nixon, is how much they paid. How much they paid ExxonMobil for the 55% control of Lisa. They don't want to tell you that because Exxon, without even bringing up a gallon of oil,
Exxon made enough profit.
billions of dollars from Hess and Nixon having relinquished 55%, controlling interest.
We don't
in
know
the
how
thing.
much. You can't say
55.
that.
55.
Billion?
55 percentage
Oh.
they've relinquished.
Yes.
But they're not telling you how much ExxonMobil, the head office, did that deal, I guess.
But yet all ExxonMobil is still claiming. All its
Pre-contract and so on.
course.
And you're an accountant, and I hope these people, when they do the auditing, but I don't have confidence they can do it properly, you know. I don't think they know anything about that. They have to look at all
this
of
government will handpick its people to do the audit.
Is that right?
That's. Did you
And you
see?
think they will be able to set off pre-contract against the capital gains of ExxonMobil on the sale of the 55%
No
share?
way,
They
no
won't
way,
be able to
no
do
way.
that. No, they won't have a clue about that. They won't have a clue about that, how to do
Yeah.
that.
Of course, oil is a developing issue, so it's not a particular 2018 issue, and we're talking about 2018.
Oh, but
What about local government elections?
but there's and the politics. I want to close off with this economy before we go to politics. But on the it's 2018 or 2019. But on the pre-contract, the 940 something million US, I think you was calculated in the appendix to the production share, and it's there, the recoverable on the pre-contract. So it is our business. It is our business if they've sold 55%. For a whole lot of capital, and we still
But
faced
they
with it.
also received money from Shell in 2014. Esso has definitely received money. There's no question about it. But it is still claiming all the gross
That's correct.
expenses.
But I believe the way they do the accountancy, and you're a chartered accountant, I think the money payable for the sale of that thing went straight to Texas.
One of the oil companies said that in the financial statements.
Yeah,
they said that.
They pay to Texas.
They said they
but
bought.
in Guyana, which you have this is a paper company here, with what they call a branch accounting here, set up outside here in some tax haven. They don't declare that. They don't declare that. That kind of money for the sale of that thing is being done in Texas. It doesn't. It's not reflected in the books of exploration.
Another development we've had this year in relation to oil is Trotman, the man who signed that infamous 2016 agreement, has given way to Dr. Mark Bino.
Yes.
And petroleum has now gone to the Ministry of the Presidency.
Yes.
What difference has it made?
Well, what is happening is that you have all this multiplicity of agencies in oil and all this confusion. I think I listed them. I'm not sure if it's on this program. You have Mr. Bino, the Dr. Bino. He's in oil. Energy is called. You have the Minister of the Presidency. He's involved in the thing. You have Minister Trotman is involved in the business. You have the GGMC is still involved by law in the business. You have the petroleum unit of the GGMC involved with petroleum. I think Dennison used to run that some time ago. Then you have the Guyana Energy Agency, which is headed by Dr. Sharma, involved in energy as far as so the GEA is set up by law. Then you have the EITI people, they're somewhere running around energy. You have about 7 different agencies and groups of people in this business now. Total confusion and chaos. And that's my reading of what's going on.
And you left out the EPA.
The Dr. Man, I commented the other Dr. Man, Dr. Adams, from the EPA, he's involved now, number 8. And strangely enough, I read last week that the Minister of Public Infrastructure, he's getting involved in it because he's given out some contract to map the floor.
And then he says there's no money for it.
Some contract to map the floor to bring gas from the thing to Jamaica.
Yeah.
Is that right? And I think Patterson talking all this nonsense about mapping the floor. He hasn't read the agreement. He has not read it up to now. Because if he were to read the agreement, I think it's Article 12, he would see that this whole business of gas.
He doesn't have a force call.
He got nothing. He hasn't read nothing. The associated gas and the non-associated gas, all the decisions on gas in the agreement are exclusively within the purview of Exxon, Mobil, Esso, and nobody else. Nobody else. And the agreement in Article 12, Clause 12 of the agreement says that
Article 12, yes.
that Esso has 5 years within which to produce to the government the feasibility studies, development plan for the non-associated gas and so on. Where is Patterson going with all this nonsense about mapping floor? Mapping floor to go where? Where? All the decisions in the contract signed by Trotman, Minister Trotman, all the decisions are to be made by Esso Exploration and nobody else.
You know,
and he's getting Patterson getting involved in that thing
David
now.
Patterson, I find his incompetence.
He had problems in high school, you know.
No,
you don't think so?
No, but let's be serious. Let's be serious.
I'm dead serious.
No, he was involved in the home stretch thing and couldn't do a job. He's messing up the airport. He's messing up so many things. And now he inserts himself. Of course,
into that.
You can't say insert because President Granger
he was in the quintet.
made him in the quintet.
He was in the quintet. We spoke about GPL last week.
That doesn't have a board.
And he doesn't have a board. And he said,
Raymond Gaskin,
he said,
do you know of any company
no,
that
I don't.
you work with?
I don't.
The whole essence of a company is that it operates so
good. Like that.
Regardless of how big you are,
big.
The law says every company shall have at least one director.
He said that the 30% loss they have now will come down to 5.
He got to be kidding.
In 1999, when
Ramon, don't waste time with it. You're wasting that because own use alone tends to be about 3%. So are you going to, at the very least, own use going to be between?
So where is he getting these numbers from?
He dreaming it.
He's dreaming it. Okay, good. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
He's a big man. He's a senior minister.
He's a senior minister. He talks nonsense all the time. He's just a clear example of the incompetence in the play. He hasn't even read the agreement. I don't think so. If he had read the agreement, he would have known that he cannot keep talking nonsense all the time about mapping flour. He would know that. So that's what you have in the economy for this year. Sugar's a disaster. The bank's leaving. The rice is down. The forestry is 0. The goal is not being declared. And then you have all this incompetence. That's on the economic side of it. What positive I could say? Those are negatives. I'm something negative all the time. On the positive side, $1,000 more for pensioners like me, I guess, in the minister's budget. I'll get $1,000.
Well, I'm not even sure that you should be getting a pension.
Why?
No. You read the act.
What it says?
The act says it has to be done on a needs basis.
Yeah, well, it's I will qualify under the act. Yes.
But lots of those former judges and former this and that.
Under the act, I will still qualify.
You know, this government just would not read.
No, they don't read.
Just would not read.
They don't read anything.
Yeah.
If we were to clean up the pension list, how many people are receiving pension, old age pension?
I don't know.
Couple thousand. And if you were to clean it up and enforce the act strictly,
you'd be able to double the pension.
You could double the pension to 40,000 straight away, in 72 hours. Clean up the list, enforce the law, and move the pensions to 40,000 a month. It can be done in 7 days.
I want to make it clear. I don't collect pension.
You don't collect. No, I collect.
Because I don't.
You don't need
on
it.
The law, no, I'm not entitled to it.
You're not entitled on it. Well, I'm entitled under the law. I could tell you right. I've looked at the law. I'm entitled under the law. Under the law of Guyana, yes. But I could tell you all of the pension I collect, I give all of it away. I give all of it away. I give it back to people who need it more than I do. But that's the economy we've had.
Local government elections.
Well, on the political side, of course, the big news.
Constitutional reform. No, let me ask you this.
Nothing.
Mr. Nigel Hughes said civil society must drive this. Yeah. Do you accept that?
No.
Who made the promise to bring about
the AFC and Nagamutu and
why is Mr.
Nigel Hughes had produced some little report about something, but nothing is happening in the area of constitutional reform.
I think what he's done there is trying to take the pressure off the politicians.
Civil society cannot.
They can't. We voted for people who said they're going to bring about a thing.
That's correct.
What else can civil society do?
They haven't. They're not.
And I think that is a most unfortunate statement by Mr. Hughes.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything on the question of constitutional reform. And you talk about reform. This government violates the Constitution all the time. You're talking about GPL not having a board. We don't have a Judicial Service Commission in this place. And the Minister of the Presidency says he's working on it and we'll have it soon. Like if it's, like you just have this thing soon. This is something required by the Constitution. He said they're working on it.
They don't care. They really don't care.
They don't care. And if they wanted it, they would get it. They get it done. Like they wanted the man at the Police Service Commission and they got it done.
They wanted Patterson
and they got it.
Jicum.
Yeah, that's correct. But this is not important. And if they decide it's not important, well, just leave it alone. And you vote for the GPL that's not so important, you don't have to have it.
Well, Guy Soko didn't have a board for several months.
That's correct. And they don't see it as a big problem. They don't see it.
But Raymond, is this not elementary?
No, it tells you about the quality of leadership. What passes here for leadership? It's incompetence and indifference, and just don't care, and we don't care, and we ain't doing it, and there's nothing you can do about it. We ain't ready to do it. When we're ready, we'll let you know. It's an arrogance that is characteristic of all of them. All of them. The present set and the previous set. It's an arrogance that they can't get rid of. That's what you have here. We're not ready to do it.
I'm trying to get you to talk about local government elections.
The local government elections were held, and we don't know the results. The main result, of course, is that a lot of people didn't turn out. The turnout was low, I think 36%. But even if you, of those that bothered to vote, the PPP did a reasonable job of mobilizing their people, a better job than the PNC was able to do. And they claim some kind of better turnout. The FC was totally wiped out, I think, altogether. And
No, Mr. Ramjatan said they maintained their share.
Ramjatan, like, who's the other guy? Like Holloway doesn't know arithmetic either. Ramjatan never was good at arithmetic in school, so he doesn't see the numbers. The AFC was totally wiped out all over the place, and they're struggling with 2%. That's what it showed. The PPP was so happy against the result, they moved straight to the no confidence motion, which is to be done, I think, Friday. So they're on a roll. They believe they're on a roll, and they want to take advantage of this so-called momentum that they were able to achieve. And we won't know until Friday how that plays out.
Your favorite organization, I think, Ramon, is the City Council.
Mayor and City Council, yes. The Mayor and City Council, the most corrupt place in the entire republic, I told Mr. Kennard. In this 83,000 square miles we have here, there's nothing more corrupt in this entire country more than the Main City Council of Georgetown. Absolutely.
But
I can swear this an affidavit if you draw it up as a lawyer. I can swear to this. Absolutely. I've been there, I see it, and I've been inside there, and I saw it.
But
And nobody didn't tell me about it.
People voted back for many of the same persons.
Yes. Well, we got a new mayor.
The former mayor.
Right.
I think she got the largest number of votes.
Yeah, she's very popular wherever she is. But we got the PNC leadership decided that the Pandit should be the mayor of Georgetown, and she is struggling to be the chairman of some finance committee, from which position she'll be able to control things, I believe.
What's her competence in matters of finance?
I don't know if she has any competence in any of those areas. I think she comes from a nursing background. But she's hopeful, I think. The reason why she's trying to get that position is to use that as a platform from which to control events at City Council. But I don't know how the Pandit will make out. I wish him well, but it's not an easy job he's taken on there. But the place is very corrupt. Kennard's report doesn't make for nice reading. He suggested that some of them should be prosecuted for criminal wrongdoing. We'll see how that plays out. But I don't see any improvement there at all. Last week, the ministry had to come in and pay the garbage collection people the money so they could resume collection of garbage. So they're in a state of crisis all the time. They're in a permanent state of crisis. They couldn't find money to pay the payroll. They couldn't find money to pay the NIS. They couldn't find money to pay the PAYE and the garbage people. It's a terrible place. It's a terrible place.
Now, this was the first test for Justice Patterson as chairman of GCOM.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's hopefully just purely coincidental that he fell ill almost shortly after presiding over the local government elections.
I don't think it's coincidental. It's consequential. It's as a consequence of this thing, this pressure what they put on this gentleman, that I guess he took it. It's not easy work at that age.
But as you said, this is Charles. He's only 85. Remember?
Yeah, he's not only 85. So it's not coincidental. It's consequential, and I wish him well. But he's not a young person, and I really do believe that I haven't changed my view that the imposition of Patterson, Mr. Justice Patterson, retired as chairman, violates the Constitution. clearly, and I think that matter is being litigated, isn't it?
It is being litigated.
I will see what the judges say about that. I was looking at the Constitution, and the more I look at it, the more I find things, and I found the 111 which says that the president could only send back something once in 111, two. And,
now, you talk about the president.
so
in this year as well, the president himself fell ill.
Yes. Well, the president also is not a very young person.
The newspapers have said that he is performing his job normally.
That's what the paper said. Harmon said that the president's load has been eased up a bit. Some of the other ministers are taking some of his work. I hope he recovers too. He's not a very young person, and he's getting the best treatment in the world, he says. Compliments to the Cuban people, and I'm hopeful that he can recover. We all wish him well. He's the head of state, and we wish him well.
From a management perspective, given our constitutional construct, where ministers are advisors to the president more than anything, is there a vacuum in the leadership of the country?
I think at the present time, once the president is here, he is in charge, and he's the leader.
No, to be in charge is one thing. To perform is a different thing.
But to perform, he's undergoing treatment. He's not as healthy, as strong as he used to be. But I think he has some senior people around him, senior ministers who...
Patterson, Ramjatan?
No, I think Patterson... no, I don't think Patterson and Ramjatan will come there. I think it'll start with Harmon and Jordan and Calvernage. I think those are the three main people he depends upon. And probably Valda Lawrence and Amna Ali. Those are his five quintet people, who are the closest people to him.
Mostly PNC people.
PNC, yes. Yeah, based on the Valda theory that they're PNC people and you deal with your own friends all the time. But those are the people. Even when he's here, those are the main people he depends upon to get things done. So that's what you have.
Talking about elections as well.
And we have the third term decision that came down this year from the CCJ, which effectively prevents Mr. Jagdeo from running again. That's a big decision that came down. And according to the media, the PPP is going to make a decision by month end. Who
yes, before this year end, yes.
Who they're going to...
Is that good politics?
The PPP maximum leader is Jagdeo. He will pick the person.
No, but is it good politics? That you name a person early, you put that person out there for arrows and slings to start being directed. But I don't want to go off. We're talking about elections. The PNC itself had elections. The chairmanship.
Yes, the chairmanship. The former chairman was removed and replaced by Ms. Lawrence. For a long time in the party, Ramsrup would be the chairman.
Yes.
And after the passing of the old Hoyt and Bonham and all them, after Basil Williams challenged Ramsrup, he won it. But the chairmanship for a long time had been Ramsrup, and Williams upturned that, and Valda Lawrence upturned him too. Of course, she won in a three-way race with Basil Williams and Harmon too, all who wanted to be chairman, but she won that race. The votes were divided between the three of them. But the big problem we still have here, and we talk about the failure to do constitutional reform, has to do with the Chancellor and the Chief Justice still. After 17 years, I don't know, 17 or 16 years, we still haven't been able to get a substantive Chancellor and Chief Justice in this country because of this, the changes that were made in the Constitution, which required the concurrence of the opposition leader in the appointment of the Chancellor and the Chief Justice. And this problem has come over from the old administration to the new set, which the present set don't agree with the other set about who's to get the work. So we have this, we have a situation where you don't have a substantive Chancellor and Chief Justice. I think the CCJ people had commented upon
Yes,
this for some time now.
The president of the CCJ.
And I'm not sure the Constitution provides for an acting Chancellor and an acting Chief Justice for 10 and 15 and 20 years. I don't think there's any such thing like that in the Constitution, but they haven't been able to resolve that. Those are the, I would say, the big political and legal news for this year. We're coming to the no confidence vote Friday, and we'll see what will happen. Of course, Valda Lawrence outburst, which was very nice of her to be honest in her position and how the PNC gives out work to its people and its friends. So we're happy for that.
Now,
that she was quite honest how she articulated it.
Early in this year, you had talked about a political initiative by yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Where is that now?
All I'm doing here tonight is part of that work. Whenever I come here, it's all politics. We're talking on economics. It's part of that work.
Plain dog got to start asking for some money then?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. But the political organization we have in mind is not in the early stages to be running for office and putting up candidates and wanting to be minister and wanting to be this and wanting to be and holding the we're not into that. Our position, we're ideological people. We're ideological people. We cannot change that now. And we want to put forward to the people of this country new ideas about how this country should be run and how it should be managed. And at the appropriate time when we get sufficient support for these ideas we put forward, and then at that time we can think about candidates and all of that. But right now, we don't see it, we want to go about it differently. We know that history tells us that you could make a lot of change without being a minister or even a member of parliament. I always remember the story about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. And we believe in a political organization that does struggle, an organization to struggle for change. We believe in that. We believe, as Marx said, the task is to change the world, not to explain the world. We believe that, and we're working on that. To change the world, not to become minister and drive a Prado with tinted windows. We're not into that business. We want to change the world.
They don't drive. They have people driving.
Driving for them. But we want to change the world. Our political group is to change the world.
Now,
we haven't changed that. We haven't changed that idea. We have.
By the way, your Soviet people thought they could change the world as well, but
so we did change the
and
Soviet.
then it don't change.
Well,
it unchanged.
It unchanged. But even this unchanging changed the world again. We changed it again. We changed it again in 91. We changed it in 17 and we changed it in 91 again.
Let me ask you this because we have a couple of minutes left.
That's a matter I'm looking into. What's happened to the Soviet, how we changed the world and unchanged it.
You can come and tell us about it on Plain Dogs.
Yes.
Into the new year.
Yes.
Now, we've heard about new political parties. One heard of Rise, the party, Meet the People, having a faction that is going political. We've heard about the Amerindians.
I support them.
And Lennox Schumann.
I support them.
Them, which one you mean?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them to come forward, bring your ideas.
Then we hear Dr. Henry Jeffrey and Ralph Ramkaran, Mr. Ralph.
Yeah, I support them. And Craig Sylvester, all of them should come forward, bring your ideas and present them to the people. Because these two parties have failed us.
But the two of the most credible third parties we've had, you had three. You had the UF, you had the WPA, and you had the AFC. They've discredited any third party. Every one of them.
I won't say they've discredited. The United Force changed the world. The United Force, when they joined with Burnham in 64 December...
They discredited themselves by...
No, they haven't achieved what they wanted to do to prevent Jagan and so on. De Gaulle was willing to step out, step away from it. He achieved what he wanted. The WPA came on the scene to do the revolution. to do they came to do the revolution. And the manifesto of the WPA when they first started, they said, we come to do the revolution and the socialist revolution. The leader was killed, they didn't get to do the revolution. The AFC, the AFC was a group that came from the PPP and the PNC and the WPA, Sheila Hole and all of them. And they were going along nicely at the beginning, and they were enticed by power and ministerial
So
and so on.
they've all went off
On different tangents, yes. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
I want to thank you for your willingness. Lots of people, the private sector, the politicians, really are extremely hesitant. They're just resistant to coming on Plain Talk.
They don't want to talk. They don't want to talk. Why?
They're afraid to answer serious questions.
Because they don't have the self-confidence. They lack confidence.
They have no position to justify and defend.
They have no position. They have
So
no
I want to
position.
thank
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I particularly as well
Mm.
want to thank the operators. Thank Mrs. Blackman, Mrs. Blackman, the viewers especially, and all those who make comments, favorable and unfavorable. I've always said I prefer criticisms rather than praise. Criticisms make you get better. Praise makes you become self-confident and arrogant and complacent. So I want to thank all of you. Next year is going to be another interesting year in the path of Guyana's development. It will be the year that precedes Forest Oil by a matter of months. The country as a whole is going to be transformed. There are lots going to happen. Whether we take the correct fork in the road is a matter for which we can only express hope. We have to hope that President Granger and all our political leaders can show the kind of leadership that our country requires. We have to hope that our electorate would stop voting on the basis of race, even though in some cases one can understand why they do that. And we have to hope that those who seek political office do it not for self-aggrandizement and self-enrichment, but rather for the development of our country. That is my sincere hope. So, thank you, good night, and I'll see you sometime early in the new year.